Hi there. These comments are for 2060, and I am Michael, your English language program TOEFL instructor here at California State University, San Bernardino. And you completed, it looks like it's an independent writing practice test over at my online TOEFL course, the 7-step system to pass a TOEFL IBT. So the topic: some people think government should spend as much money as possible exploring outer space, for example, traveling to the moon and other planets. Other people disagree and think government should spend this money for our basic needs on Earth. So which of these two opinions do you agree with? Use reasons and details to support your answer. So you're writing, I'm putting you at about 3.5 out of 5, 22 points out of 30, 82 points out of 100 if this were the midterm exam. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit your essay. So let me get a pen here. I'll write down some of my corrections. Okay, so let's take a look. So overall, let's look at the word count. I think you're fairly developed, so you have you got 395 words, and you chose to use 2 support points. So you have some pretty good development here. All right, let's go to the beginning. So why? You want to put here do because this is a question, right? So why do governments explore outer space? Do you know whether it is useful in, I would say, your life, or do we know whether it's useful in our lives? You say nowadays governments in many countries spend more money for exploring outer space. People can travel to the moon. Usually we use infinitives. If we use for, we will use a noun, like I went to the bank for some money, or to get some money. I guess to get's better there than for, but I'm going to change this to explore outer space. People can travel to the moon, see what Mars has, or explore other planets. Governments support scientists to study outer space. How about this? Well, if you use a therefore to show some cause effect here, therefore, government supports scientists to study outer space, and they treat it as relevant aspect of their works. Let me make this. You know what? I will do this. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I want to make sure we can see this. Yeah, I have a suggestion right here. What if we did this? Because government supports scientists to study outer space, no, maybe not, because then it's going to kind of mess up what's the thesis, right? So maybe we shouldn't do that. How about, in fact, government supports scientists to study outer space. I'm going to put these researchers treat give you another word here. They support got it. So in fact, government supports scientists to study outer space, and these researchers treat planetary science as a relevant aspect of their work. maybe this is where we have cause effect. I think I got it. So as a result, government should spend as much money as possible exploring outer space because people can find more resources from other planets, and they might have an opportunity to move there I'm going to say here to survive in the future. So I think you should take a look at, I have a grammar lesson on gerunds and infinitives. I want you to take a look at that lesson, right? I think that's going to be good for you. So now your purpose is you're going to develop these different ideas, right? Okay, let's take a look at your first body paragraph. You're developing the first point in your thesis, right? Finding more resources from outer space is the most important aspect for people I would probably say to sustain our ever growing global population. Resource exhaustion. I'm going to change this to present perfect because it's something that started in the past and continues into our moment of speaking, right? So resource exhaustion has become a crucial problem on Earth. Many resources cannot be recycled, so that people are not able to create resources by themselves. Limited resources I'm going to say a little bit more. So the exhaustion of these limited resources might cause people the exhaustion of these limited resources might cause people to not survive on Earth. If people can find more resources or new resources from other places, for example, outer space, they can have more tools for their daily lives. Nowadays, outer space is still mysterious. I'm going to just say without a, because if you're using a, you have to say mysterious and then a noun or get rid of the article. Just say outer space is still mysterious, which people cannot understand. If you said this, with which people very familiar. I say in addition, I'm going to put even in between the the auxiliary verb and the main verb. Check this out. I think this is a better word order for this. So in addition, people cannot even go to other planets. I'm going to say here, scientists. Sometimes you have these unclear pronoun reference. In this case, do you mean people generally or do you mean scientists? So instead of they, I'm saying scientists. So people cannot even go to other planets because scientists don't have appropriate level of technology for space exploration. Obviously, developing technology requires a mass amount of money. Thus, government should spend as much money as possible in scientific areas in order to have technologies to help how about to help discover resources in space. It is necessary for governments instead of less, I'm going to say fewer because you're using resources as a plural count noun. So we have it's necessary for governments to invest in this type of research because of fewer available resources on Earth. Maybe you might say, which people need we might say something like that. Okay, let's take a look at this paragraph. Now, this is kind of what's throwing me off. You got, on the other hand, it sounds like you're going to talk about the opposite idea here, but you're not doing that. You're adding to this idea, right? Okay, so let's get rid of, on the other hand. You could probably say in addition. It has become a serious issue I'm going to get rid of that. That's just a little wordy. So if we deplete all of Earth's natural resources, people might need a new planet to move to. Yeah, I'm going to kind of restate your purpose. How about, so we don't repeat the word explore or exploration. Okay, exploring outer space can offer a chance for people Now, what I want to do here, I'm going to show you how you can develop what you're not really doing in your paragraphs. You need to focus on some type of an example and then extend that for like several lines. And that's going to give you a little bit more depth and complexity of thought to your writing. So let's see what that would look like. Okay, so what I did is I added this particular example to show you how you can develop the paragraph a little bit more. So the key here is specificity. You have a lot of good ideas, but there's nothing very, very specific. So it says, let's read this paragraph one more time. In addition, if we deplete all of Earth's natural resources, people might need a new planet to move to, which is another reason why government should allocate more money to space discoveries. Exploring outer space can offer a chance for people to move to another planet in the event of a global crisis. For example, aided by funding from the U.S. government and from private donors all over the world, a company is planning to send the first colony of a select group of people to Mars in the next decade or so. However, before this can happen, the company must send unmanned spacecraft to Mars to study the atmosphere so that scientists can understand what type of limitations humans will have once they arrive. Eventually, the first colony of humans will arrive on Mars, and a lot of money will need to be spent to set up a self-sustaining space city, which will even be equipped with growing its own food and producing its own oxygen. Therefore, once these Mars pioneers figure out how to live on Mars, others can travel to the planet in case Earth faces a global extinction level event. Maybe you can put these two words together. You see what I'm saying? So even in this previous paragraph, you could be a little more specific in the examples. The whole point is to try to give a specific example and then develop that over maybe 80 words or so, kind of like I did there. All right, let's look at your conclusion. All in all, spending as much money as possible. I'm going to say to explore outer space not only brings people more resources on Earth, but also gives, and good parallel structure here, I like that. So not only brings, but also gives people an opportunity to move to other planets, governments. Cause effect. Governments, consequently, should help to develop technologies I'm going to just put to find new ways it's a little awkward how you wrote that. You're getting stuck on some grammar, and I think one thing you want to control better is your infinitives. I think that's definitely one thing that you can work on is controlling your use of your infinitives and your gerunds a little bit better. Maybe here we'll put our lives on Earth. All right, let's read the paragraph one more time, or the essay one more time. So I think overall you have a pretty good essay. I think your organization is fairly clear. I gave you a score of 3.5. Now the revised version is 30 points out of 30, right? So let's take a look at it one more time. So why do governments explore outer space? Do you know whether it's useful in your life? Nowadays, governments in many countries spend more money to explore outer space. People can travel to the moon, see what Mars has, or explore other planets. In fact, governments support scientists to study outer space, and these researchers treat planetary science as a relevant aspect of their work. As a result, government should spend as much money as possible exploring outer space because people can find more resources from other planets and they might have an opportunity to move there to survive in the future. Finding more resources from outer space is the most important aspect to sustain our ever-growing global population. Resource exhaustion has become a crucial problem on Earth. Many resources cannot be recycled so that people are not able to create resources by themselves. The exhaustion of these limited resources might cause people to not survive on Earth. If people can find more resources or new resources from other planets, for example, outer space, they can have more tools for their daily lives. Nowadays, outer space is still mysterious, with which people are not very familiar. In addition, maybe, we don't even need this. If you say it's mysterious, the grammar that I created was awkward. Just say it's mysterious. In addition, people cannot even go to other planets because scientists don't have appropriate level technologies for space exploration. Obviously, developing technologies requires a massive amount of money. Thus, governments should spend as much money as possible in scientific areas in order to have technologies to help discover much needed resources in space. It is necessary for governments to invest in this type of research because of fewer available resources on Earth, which people need to sustain their lives. In addition, if we deplete all of Earth's natural resources, people might need a new planet to move to, which is another reason why government should allocate more money to space discoveries. Exploring outer space can offer a chance for people to move to another planet in case of a global crisis. For example, aided by funding from the U.S. government and from private donors all over the world, a company is planning to send the first colony of a select group of people to Mars in the next decade or so. However, before this can happen, the company must send unmanned spacecraft to Mars to study the atmosphere so that scientists can understand what type of limitations humans will have once they arrive. Eventually, the first colony of humans will arrive on Mars, and a lot of money will need to be spent to set up a self-sustaining space city, which will even be equipped with growing its own food and producing its own oxygen. Therefore, once these Mars pioneers figure out how to live on Mars, others can travel to the planet in case Earth faces a global extinction level event. All in all, spending as much money as possible to explore outer space not only brings people more resources on Earth, but also gives them, instead of people, an opportunity to move to other planets. Governments, consequently, should help to develop technologies to find new ways to sustain our existence and keep our lives on Earth. So I think overall you have a pretty good essay. So my advice is for the midterm exam, remember what I did here. This is what you want to try to do in your body paragraphs, to add some depth and some complexity of thought to the writing by including a little bit more of something, some type of specific idea that you can develop over several lines to help show what I call progression of thought. And that's actually going to strengthen your argument a little bit more. All right, so thank you for doing this writing project.